Welcome in to a hot edition of Sportball, baby. There's 1 week left in the NBA season, and we're taking you through it all. We're taking you through everything. I know you're scared, you're lonely, you're alone, waiting for the playoffs to start, but we're here. I'm Sam, by the way. With me, as always, are my two red hot co hosts, Seth and Kyle.
What am I hot about?
Don't ask, and you don't have to tell me.
Hello, everyone. Our usual nonsensical introduction.
I thought that was pretty spot on for what we wanted to convey.
Hmm.
We're recording this at 7:38.
Central
7:38
Time.
to be clear, not to be between 7:30 and 8 Central Standard Time on Wednesday, April 5th. Anything that happens after this, not our fault, unless we directly cause it, but I doubt we will have.
Good point.
Thank you. I thought you guys would have something interesting to say, but you have nothing.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So we are maybe 4 to 6 games left for each team. Not even that.
Not even, no. 2 to 3.
Yeah, the schedule ends on Sunday, April 9th for the NBA, and then the playoffs begin. And my loins are ready, itching for the playoffs. Happy Easter indeed, yes. Sorry, Kyle. You were trying to say Happy Easter to everyone, and I was talking about my loins. That's not me. Well, it's not the first time, won't be the last.
So we have on Easter anyway, so.
So I wanted to bring us all together for our loyal listeners, get a little snapshot of how the standings look with a few games left and how their playoff matchups might look. And then we got to go through our end of season awards because we're all voters. The NBA counts on us to vote for the MVP, the All NBA, and most despicably the most improved player. And every year we step up.
All those players getting the Supermaxes. It's just because of us exclusively. Nobody else.
That's right. So let's look at the Western Conference first. Take a little snapshot of what's going on here. It is absolute debauchery in the West. I mean, we don't know what goes on. By the time you're listening to this, all the West teams might honestly be banished from the league for all we know. These standings are changing every day. So right now, 1 through 4 is pretty set in some order. We have the Nuggets at 1, the Grizzlies at 2, the Kings at 3, the Suns at 4. Seems like those are pretty set. Maybe the Grizzlies and Kings switch, but doubtful. Then things start to get interesting. 5 through 8, we have the Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, and Pelicans. Your precious Pelicans, who have stuck back in contention with BI on a hot streak. So all those 5 through 8, I feel like are trying to avoid the play-in, but also maybe trying to avoid the Suns. So like they'd love to be right at 6 and not at 5. And then 9 through 12 still fighting. We have the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Dallas Mavericks, a despicable franchise, and the Utah Jazz. So
Mavs should be relegated, honestly.
No more Blazers, even in this conversation, because they decided to give up. What intrigues you guys most when you look at this Western Conference? Kyle, what gets your loins tingling?
It is the Kings, obviously. Just excited to see them in the postseason.
Yeah,
and definitely. I really think that they have a chance to upset whoever they play. It shouldn't be an upset because they're the higher seed, but it's going to be an upset
Vegas, yeah.
if they win, no matter who they play. But I'm ready for that to happen in the first round. I guess it's all dependent, though, right? Whoever gets that 6th spot. If it ends up being the Lakers, I don't know about that. I'm also looking forward to, though.
Which teams would you take?
4-5 game. Which teams would I take? I'm
honestly considering taking them
best
against
about
everyone.
The Clippers.
Yeah. Especially with Paul George.
I feel good about the Warriors as well. I just hate the Warriors though.
Wiggins coming back.
That's like Seth choosing a team against the Lakers. It's me choosing a team against the Warriors.
Yeah.
That
They
would be
keep
very
saying Wiggins is
interesting.
going to come back. They haven't played with him for what, like 30 games though?
Yeah.
I get it. He was on the team last year, but
Yeah.
it's a long time.
I really think
And I
I would
mean,
pick them against the Lakers or the Clippers. I don't know if I would pick them against the Warriors,
I
despite the
don't think you can
Wiggins
pick them against
issue.
the Lakers the way they're playing since the trades.
The Lakers are under
The last
500.
Yeah, but the last 24 games of the season, they have the number one record in the NBA and the number one defense.
LeBron and Anthony
They're
Davis have not
undefeated
played.
when LeBron, Davis, and Reeves are
Okay,
three of
that's
the
been like
five
three
starters.
games.
I'm just saying, no, it's 5 or 6, but
Anthony Davis and LeBron James haven't played more than 5 straight games together in the last 2 years. And I'm supposed to pick them? I don't know. Like, I just can't count on it. So AD's just going to fall weird and then they're out.
he did that the other day, and then he came back 2 minutes later. So I think he might
So he's
just be,
due.
He's invincible now.
The
yeah.
Kings have been better than the Lakers all year, you know? Like, I just don't know.
Yeah, the Lakers haven't had like a real team all year.
It's true. It's true.
And either way, so right in this kind of 5, 6, 7 spot for the most part, the Lakers hold their destiny, hold the destiny of essentially themselves, and then the other two teams, they hold the tiebreaker against both if they beat the Clippers on this Wednesday night that we are recording.
Is this the biggest LA game in history?
It has to be.
It honestly might be.
And I did see something earlier. Someone was like, the Russell Westbrook's return to the Crypto Center or whatever. He got traded to the Clippers. He's been playing there. It's not a return. They just he hasn't stopped playing there.
It's just
so
a
good.
return to play the Lakers. It's a revenge game, is what it is.
I think the Kings. I would pick the Kings against everyone except the Warriors. It would be very interesting against the Warriors, right? Because it would be like the Kings have been better all year. The Warriors are defending champs, obviously know how to win the playoffs, and the Kings have never been there. So that'd be such a juicy like matchup of the new team versus the old heads, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just hate Draymond Green so much as a player. I think he'll
I
be a
love
decent
Draymond.
announcer, or commentator.
Light the beam, baby.
Light the beam for sure. So that's what I'm really looking forward to the most here as we get around to the playoffs. That those two matchups, the 4-5, and then whoever plays the 3-6.
What do you think about that 4-5 set? I mean, people are going to be tanking to avoid the Suns. I think last couple games.
Right. I mean, it's
Are
obvious
they, though?
why.
I don't know. I would. I think.
I mean, it comes down to what is the team's philosophy about basketball karma, and
Clippers have gotten the shit end of the stick a couple times, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also true. Like, okay, do you want to make decisions based on the basketball gods, or do you want to make decisions based on Kevin Durant being on the other side of the floor? Like, you're kind of in a lose-lose situation there.
Some say Kevin Durant is a basketball god.
Exactly. And, there's no doubt that he exists. So I think Phoenix is going to be a heavy favorite no matter who they play in that game. I guess Golden State would be the most intriguing, and maybe that would be closer to an even matchup. Obviously, the whole KD storyline against the Warriors would be incredible. So I think my hope is that that's what it is the 4-5. And then maybe we see Kings Lakers in the 3-6, and we have the 20 years later revenge game of the C-Web era Kings who got screwed against the Lakers in whatever that was, 2002 or something. I think that would be really exciting, but I can't wait to see Phoenix in the playoffs. And I think it's going to be such an interesting impact, assuming all of them can stay on the court, like how that'll impact both legacies for Durant and Chris Paul. two players who have controversial kind of legacies, and NBA fans have differing feelings on where they belong amongst the pantheon of NBA greats. Since CP3 has never won a championship, and then Durant's only championships were with the Warriors super team. So I'd love to see that. And I think even like the 2-7 matchup could be pretty juicy. We don't know who's going to come out of the play-in, but I'd love to see another Memphis Timberwolves matchup.
And let me tell you,
go ahead.
I think, well, I was just gonna say, I think I don't want to say it out loud, but could the T-Wolves be live in that matchup?
You're damn right.
Against who?
They're gonna make it farther in the playoffs than the Sixers, so they'll probably win at least a round. It's a pretty low bar, but
I was just can I walk you through my preferred matchup? See, I don't want to see Suns Warriors first round because then one of them loses. What I'd like to see
That's
is
great. Yeah, I'd like the Warriors to lose.
We know your feelings of the Warriors, so I'd like to see. I just want the best teams to the next round. So I want to see Lakers Grizzlies because that will just be fun, right? And then let's say the Lakers win. Okay. Then I'd like to see Clippers Kings, so the Kings can go ahead and knock those fuckers off. Hate them. Oh wait, no. Scratch that. Scratch that from the record. Kyle, edit that out.
What you want is the Lakers to beat the Kings, and the Grizzlies to stay in it.
I kind of prefer the Kings to make it through. Is that wild to say?
No.
I know Ja's my son, but
is he? Doesn't sound like it.
Kevin Huerter's my daddy, so I mean, got to cheer for one of them. I would like the Warriors and Suns to meet up in the second round, ideally, if we can get that going. And then maybe Lakers Nuggets as well. Could be fun.
Okay, but
that's near impossible. Nearly impossible.
The lower seed gets to play the 1 seed. Am I correct on that? It doesn't just come out of the 4-5 matchup?
No, it's just the 4-5 matchup. Did they change that?
Isn't it the winner of the 4? Wait.
I thought it was the lowest seed that advanced.
Oh, are we talking second round?
Since when?
Oh, my bad.
I thought always.
No. No.
Someone get research on this.
Because then, I mean, even if it was, right? If Golden State is the 6th seed, let's say, they beat the Kings, then Golden State would be playing the Nuggets in your scenario.
Not if the Lakers beat the Grizzlies.
So then we'd have
interesting.
Nuggets, Lakers, Phoenix, Kings. Is that what you're saying?
I think I screwed it up. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I can't keep
that much is for sure.
Well, I think there's gonna be like more than
1-8 plays the winner of 4-5.
Okay. Yeah. No matter what.
Yes.
According to last year's, that's what it looks like.
Okay.
And 3-6 plays 2-7.
That's how it's always been. I don't know where you got that in your head, Sam. But
that's how it is in the NFL. So I guess that was what confused me.
Well, and even if that was the case, it would still be nearly impossible for the 6th seed to end up playing the 4 seed in the second round. Who does Denver play then?
So, okay.
Like it would only theoretically be possible in the conference finals, and that's a long shot.
I want the last 4 teams somehow to be Suns, Warriors. I want Suns and Warriors in the second round. Okay.
To play each other?
Yeah, but I guess that's not possible, right?
That's correct. It is not possible.
Damn. So what do I want then? I'm never going to get Suns Warriors then, unless it's the conference championship.
First round.
Right? Fine. I want a first round. You convinced me then. That's the easiest way to get it, right?
That's nearly the only way.
The only way.
Suns Nuggets is juicy.
Even in your imaginary scenario, if the rules were changed, it would still be impossible.
I think that was the worst 5 minutes of podcasting we've ever done.
Guaranteed.
I'm moving on. Can we talk about the Mavs real quick? I just want to talk about the Mavs real quick.
Please.
What a
Agreed.
despicable display. Take it from there.
They don't deserve to be in the league anymore. And honestly, all of the executives on Dallas should be fired. And nobody should act like we didn't see this coming. I mean, when was the last time that Kyrie has made a team better? 2016? 2017? Like,
Was that Boston?
Maybe that one nice stretch in Boston for those 20 games.
yeah. It's like, yeah. So the last time he's made a team better in the playoffs was 2016 because he was injured in 2017 for the Cavs. And then he's either been injured or just unhelpful since then. So
Playoffs.
just a terrible move for Dallas, like we said at the beginning. I can't say that I thought it was going to be this bad and that they would miss the play-in, but they deserve it for making such an atrocious decision.
Yes.
So I hope Kyrie's gone. And honestly, it's not even all Kyrie's fault. I am at the point where I can hardly watch Luka anymore.
You could miss me with Luka Doncic.
I could what you?
Miss me.
him.
If you try to throw Luka at me, you can miss me. That's all I'll say. Any more thoughts on the West?
I don't know what that means at all.
You don't
You
know
know,
what
someone
miss
says
means?
like
Miss
you
me
can
with
miss
that?
me with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you don't like something, like, oh, you can miss me with iced tea. I don't like iced tea. Not the rapper, to be clear. Drink in my scenario.
Miss me
I've-
with that
I've-
shit.
You've never heard
know
that? This is
of
just like yuck
nothing
my
about
yum or
you
whatever.
speak.
Yeah,
Do
you
not
go around,
yuck my yum.
You go around saying everyone knows yuck my yum. You don't miss me with that?
Yeah, everyone does know don't yuck my yum.
Email us in at sportballpod@gmail.com if you've heard of yuck my yum or miss me with that.
Anyways,
All right.
yeah,
East, or you done with the West?
Luka complains every time
Oh,
there
don't even.
is a ball on the court, and I just don't like watching him play anymore. So they need to revolutionize everything over there, or it's going to be a disaster for the foreseeable future.
East?
North, South.
All right. These matchups are a little more set. We got the Bucks versus whoever grabs the 8th seed. Could be our Chicago Bulls, who are looking frisky, Kyle, aren't they? I mean, there's talk in the streets that the Bulls could win 1 or 2 games against the Bucks if they make the playoffs. What say you on that?
I don't think it's crazy. I mean, they did it during the regular season, so it's been a different team too since the addition of Pat Bev, as much as Seth's gonna hate to hear that.
It's true though. I'm so surprised.
We are a top 5
Fuck Pat Bev.
defensive team for the entire season. How we have this terrible of a record is outrageous. But Zach LaVine has also been quietly playing out of his mind since the All-Star break.
Yeah. The thing is, like, we're just playing our best players now. Because
that's
Pat Bev really like filled the hole of Lonzo. Despite
kind
like,
of.
You know what I mean? Like now he's starting instead of Ayo Dosunmu, who wasn't quite ready to like be a starting point guard. So then
Pat Bev also just doesn't care if he doesn't take a shot the entire time he's on the court.
Right. And
which is what you need for that lineup.
Right. You have a backcourt of him and Caruso, who both don't need to shoot and both play lockdown defense. And then you have DeMar and Zach on the wings who are turnstiles and run our offense. Like it just fits better. And Kobe White's been really good lately too. So I don't know. We have a solid rotation. We could be like the Orlando Magic of a few years ago where we win the first game of the series and everyone gets up in arms. We might even win a game against the Celtics if we sneak into the 7th seed.
We might bury the Celtics.
We might put them 6 feet under.
This is where Seth says, miss me with that bullshit.
You can miss me with the fucking Pat Bev.
Yeah, that's perfect. He's learning.
Yeah. Damn straight.
Seth, your Celtics are the 2 seed. Who's your preferred matchup out of all the play-in teams?
The Bulls.
Really?
No, I just said that really
You didn't
quickly to
even
piss you off.
let me list them. You had the Heat at 7, the Hawks at 8, Raptors at 9, and the Bulls at 10. And that seems pretty set.
I have very little concerns about any of them. I guess I would prefer not to play Miami.
Yeah, makes
All
sense.
the other three would be fine.
I want
But
let's see that first round matchup against Miami. That's the toughest
it
matchup
would
we
be
probably
exciting. Like,
run back last year.
right. There's all
It's
the
good.
emotional stuff with the matchup last year, and obviously Jimmy Butler is, I think, by far the best playoff performer of anyone on any of those bottom four teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue he's like the third best playoff performer in the conference. So that's a little bit of a danger for the Celts. I would still pick us in probably 5. I think it's probably reasonable to pick them in 6 against Miami, but I'm not worried about any of the other 3, and I trust us to take care of the Heat as well.
Just quickly, Sixers, Nets, Cavs, Knicks seems pretty locked in. Kyle, anything intriguing with those two matchups?
Um, I think the question I have is, do the Nets have the ability to steal just one game against Philly?
Oh yeah, Philly's not sweeping anyone, right?
Who is going to stop Embiid? I wanna be able to see as many games of playoff McCall as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if there's really any way that I feel like they match up the worst against Philly compared to anyone else that could sneak into the 6, which is basically Miami.
You don't think Claxton can hold up?
I don't know if I'm just wrong, but I feel like Claxton's like a stick. He's got a little
Yeah.
meat, right? But
Yeah, I mean, he's given up like 40 pounds probably at least.
right.
I think Jock Vaughn's a smart coach, and they have a lot of good defenders who are like a decent like 3-4 size. So I think they'll do a lot of like fronting and double and smart double teams. But obviously, they're not going to stop Embiid. They're probably barely going to slow him down.
You know what's a bummer is that this could have been the Embiid Ben Simmons matchup,
Oh,
but Ben's not going to play.
yeah.
Ben Simmons is an unserious man. That's all saying the matter.
I'm extremely excited for 4 or 5. This could go, I feel like, either way.
The
Obviously,
Knicks
we
could
know
win. Yeah,
they could. Is
Of course.
Julius Randle expected to be back? Is the real question I have.
it's a good question. Is
I
this
saw that
going
he
to
was
see
going to
much.
be reevaluated like 2 days before the end of the season or something.
Some people are asking if they're better without Julius Randle. Not
Which
me,
people?
not this host.
No, I mean that can't be the case. But I mean, just think of the storylines from the beginning of the season or before the season started, right? So many rumors of the Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell, trading for Donnie, right? And then Cleveland comes out of nowhere, steals him. They have a juggernaut of a team, which in terms of Cleveland teams. The Knicks, I feel like, are kind of Brunson's obviously exceeded anyone's thoughts of how he would perform or how he could perform.
Even us, and we all love him.
True. Yeah.
That's
Luka
gonna be
misses
great.
him.
Oh, Luka looks so sad, and he should be. All right, that's gonna be great. I'm excited for the playoffs. It is the end of the season, so we should hit our end of the season awards because the NBA is counting on us. But first, a quick ad break. Kyle, he wasn't ready.
I didn't have the ads pulled up.
All right, we'll get one at the end.
Yeah, I got you.
But our people are counting on us. They're paying us a lot of money to run ads. All right, MVP. I'm assuming we're gonna have all the same top 3. Embiid,
Yeah,
Jokic,
Shea
and
Gilgeous
Giannis.
Alexander, Pat Bev. And Grant Williams, right?
Grant Williams. So
Is he even still in the rotation?
The thumb himself.
on DraftKings, maybe if we read their ads, they would actually sponsor us. Embiid is minus 900 right now.
Wow.
Jokic is plus 750 and Giannis is 8-1. So Vegas thinks this is already wrapped up. I have a different MVP actually than Vegas does. But who am I to argue with them?
I mean, you're a voter, so
Yeah. Can I just list you the statistical resume of these top three? So we can use that as a basis. All right. Joel Embiid, 33, 10, and 4. 33 points. You heard it here first. On 55, 33, 86 shooting. He's played 65 games. He has a 32 PER, 12.3 win shares, 2.7 stocks, I will say. And his team is 52 and 27. They are the 3 seed in the East. Nikola Jokic, Big Honey himself. His team is also 52 and 27, if you would believe it. They're the 1 seed in the West, though. Everyone's beating each other out there. He's played 68 games, so about the same. 25, 12, and 10 for him. Averaging a triple-double, basically. No one cares anymore. 63, 39 to 82 shooting. 63 on twos. That's pretty good. 32 PER as well. 14.9 win shares leading the league. 2 stocks for him. Giannis, you've heard of him. His team is 57 and 22. They're the 1 seed, best record in the league. He's played a little less games, 63. 31, 12, and 6 on 55, 28, 65. 29 PER, 8.7 win shares, and he's only averaging 1.6 stocks. Really surprised me. Not as active, apparently, on the defensive end. 3 great candidates. Who are you guys going with? Kyle, are you going with our boy Big Honey, as has been your way?
I think so. Yeah, if I had to vote, I think I would do it, and it's a bias.
Which
It's
of
a
course you
biased
do
pick.
have to vote since you have an official vote. So
Yeah, it's a biased pick. I'm not gonna lie. I want to see the back to back
to back.
to back. Yes, forgot a back. Um, but I also it's tough though. I feel like honestly, it should be Embiid's. To be honest with you, his performances down the stretch, I feel like have been so much more important to Philadelphia's. But then again, Philadelphia's successes. Um, however, it's a full season award, not just
The last 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been struggling with this one. I'm gonna side with Big Honey, but I really feel like it's just a toss-up.
I don't feel there's any wrong answer at all, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone they pick. Sadly, I know you're not gonna pick Joel Embiid because we hate him. Are you gonna go with Giannis or Jokic?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with what I said last time on the pod and take Giannis. To me, I agree with what you said. I think an unbiased viewer would most likely pick Embiid. But my feeling is when it's this razor thin of a margin, how about the tiebreaker at least for MVP should be which of the 3 players is the best player. And I think we all, if we were just going to start a team for the playoffs, we'd all take Giannis first. So I don't know. Is it crazy to think that the MVP should go to the best player who coincidentally is also on the best team in the league?
Not crazy in my book.
So I'd go with that. I think also just like Giannis and Embiid do have a big lead on Jokic defensively. And I think this year, maybe unlike in previous years, Jokic's contributions offensively are not so much better than Embiid and Giannis that he deserves the MVP when their defense really is that much better than his, I think. So, but yeah, like you said, ultimately it could be any of the 3. I think it makes sense that the Vegas favorite is Embiid now, especially given that asinine rationale by many voters that Jokic should have to do something extra to get 3 in a row. And so I think it most likely will be Embiid at this point.
Yeah. They did a straw poll and many of them admitted that that's part of their calculation.
Which
So
they should honestly be disqualified.
yeah.
I
from
agree.
voting.
It has nothing to do with previous seasons, and I hate that stupid argument.
Despicable. I went into this, I did a little research and I went in like thinking I was gonna pick Giannis like you, Seth. But Jokic's numbers just jump off the page, especially like any even moderately advanced stat you look at, he's heads and tails above anyone. Um, and I just think getting a 1 seed in the West this year, especially with how much turmoil there is, just feels like a great accomplishment to me. Um, and I just think when I look back on this season, I'm not going to really remember Giannis as much. Like he missed a decent amount of games. Like just the Bucks treaded without him and soared to the 1 seed. But and the other thing between Jokic and Embiid for me is Jokic has to do he runs the entire offense for the Nuggets. Embiid has James Harden to set the table. So I just think that just takes a little more. But, I mean, you can't go wrong with it with anyone, but especially this year, I feel like the how many points you score don't matter as much to me. Like obviously Embiid is scoring 33, but as we know, there's 5-6 people averaging over 30 points per game. So that doesn't mean as much to me. But you can't go wrong with any of these guys. And I think Embiid's going to win, and that's great for him to get his first MVP. Now all three of these guys will have one. I think that'll be kind of nice, but wouldn't be surprised if these top three are at it again next year, right?
I feel like we've been saying for a couple of years, like, oh,
Yeah.
this year Luka's the MVP favorite, or this year it's gonna be Tatum, and then it's just back to the same old three for the last. This is the 5th year in a row.
Speaking of Tatum, would you all have him fourth on your ballot? I have him
No,
fourth right now. Kyle, you have someone else?
it's Shea.
Hmm.
I mean, the Thunder would be a bottom 6 to 8 team in the NBA without him. At least this season.
Okay, but they're only a mid-level team with him. Right? Like you could argue they'd be terrible without him, but that's because they don't have as far to go. Right? Whereas like if you took Tatum and Jaylen Brown off the Celtics,
Sure.
then they'd be ass, right? Like
yeah, take 2 players off of them, yeah.
Yeah, but right now they're already much better than where the Thunder are at because they have a better supporting cast, right? It's not just because Tatum's better than Shea, but I could say without Paolo Banchero, the Magic would be the worst team in the league. Well, they already are like pretty close to that. That's why they would be the worst team in the league. Sam, am I making sense?
I don't
No,
think
not
your
at all.
argument's that valid.
I will say that's what kept me from SGA at 4 is just the Thunder's poor record. It's a lot of people don't care about that for MVP. I personally put a lot of stock in the record, but if you don't, then SGA is a great candidate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's all about the record, obviously. I have him 4. If we're talking about players that are most valuable to their team, well, I mean, if you're going to use that argument, I don't know where Deere and Fox or like Sabonis ends up in this conversation, but
well, Fox is
really
fifth
want to
for
talk.
me.
Is he?
Yeah.
You don't even have Shea top 5? That's kind of crazy. Let's be honest.
I know it was between Fox and Shea for the last spot. I went with Fox just because, again, when I look back at the season, when I look back at the season, what am I going to remember? I'm going to remember how fucking awesome the Kings were, and I think that deserves a ballot spot.
You're not going to remember that
personally.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging like 32 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4
I will probably
stocks.
remember that. Yeah, I mean,
which of those?
It's a tough season.
Who do you think is a better player? De'Aaron Fox or say Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? Sam.
Shea.
Okay. Sometimes I just think like with these MVP, because the criteria that the NBA provides are so vague,
Is there criteria?
right, or non-existent. It's like, okay, we can add in all these different things. And sometimes I think we overthink it with, okay, how much are we factoring in team success, supporting cast, how many games they missed, the advanced metrics, eye test. If you took them off the team, how good would they be? How good did they perform when the player wasn't there this season? Like, and then you can end up in these scenarios where we're considering someone for the 5th spot in the MVP when they're like the 25th best player in the league. So I
Well,
don't know.
I have Fox on my first team All NBA, so he's at least like top 7 player for me. So I don't think it's that far off.
Yeah, and I mean there is going to be some of that because you can't give it obviously to players who only play 50 games in a season, right? So I get that, but for me, because I considered Fox for that 5th spot too, but then I'm like, there's no question in my mind that Shea is a better player than Fox. So why do I have Fox at 5th for MVP and Shea
Yeah,
lower?
I mean that's fair. For me, it's the 5th spot. It doesn't really matter at all. I just want to shout out Fox,
Okay. Well, if your argument is it doesn't matter at all, so I just pick somebody, then I guess
Well,
you
I'm
can pick
splitting
whoever
hairs,
you
right?
want.
Well, I was trying to decide between SJ and Fox, and I thought to myself, when I look back at this season, what am I going to remember most? And I think Fox deserves that for what he's done for the Kings this year. Plus, he plays like every game.
Yeah. And all I'm saying is that is within your prerogative to weigh that as a criteria. For me, the question, what am I going to remember this season, does not come into play when I'm considering my MVP ballot.
Who do you have? Did you have Luka at 5th? You would not the guts.
No, I have Shea.
No, but did any of us put Luka in the top 5? I couldn't stomach it.
Fuck Luka.
Wait, so Kyle, do you have Tatum 5th, or do you have someone else 5th then?
No, I had Tatum.
Okay. All right. So we had the same 6 people, basically. We have the same top 6.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have
like.
Fox 6 or not. I mean, I think you could argue Sabonis on his own team deserves
Let's keep
it.
going. Tell me your top 10.
But well, Sam has 14 players
15,
in his top 10.
Which is my All NBA, which is next. So that's a good segue, actually. So All NBA. Right for now, it's 2 guards, 2 forwards in the center, but in the future, we learned it's going to be positionless. What do you guys think about that?
I've been thinking about it a little more since we had a chat the other day. Basketball currently, as it's played, is essentially positionless, right? But I still think that I want to say something like that it should maybe be divided by front court and back court players, but then at the same time, I don't really know what the difference is between that and just saying positionless anyways. So.
I have a proposition that I think you might enjoy.
Please.
Because and my rationale is that it irks me going to the positionless because I think it's redundant with your top 5 MVP. Because it seems like if it's positionless All NBA, then your first team All NBA should be identical to your top 5 MVP. And to me, it's like, why are we just getting the same information twice then? So my proposal to the NBA, which I'm sure they will consider very strongly, is what if we said, okay, make the best starting 5 that you can. That's your first team, right? And then eliminate those players, do it again for your second team, eliminate those players, do it again for your third team, right? You think the best team that if you put them on the court, they'd beat anybody. And that way it's like you can structure that team however you want with whatever positions or lack thereof. But it is something that resembles a real basketball team you could see on the court, which some people, maybe not Sam, but some people like to consider that. And it makes it a more interesting conversation where you can say, okay, well, these 2 players would work well together. These players wouldn't. And it's something different than just a redundancy of the MVP voting. What do y'all think about that?
I think that's way too much work for most of these voters. These are like 80-year-old writers who just enter in whoever they saw the most that season. But I like that idea if in a perfect world. However, I also don't want
Is that who the voters are?
yeah, well, and plus us.
Plus us,
I
yeah.
I also don't want anyone to be relegated to the second team because they wouldn't fit on a basketball team as well as someone else. Personally.
I mean, I think you could. I don't know how. I feel like that's less likely to happen than the strict position requirements that we had up until now,
Yeah.
where you could be like, you know what, maybe it wouldn't be the best fit, but still having Embiid and Jokic as twin towers would be so hard to stop. I'm going to do it anyways, right? Even if it's not seamless.
Well, then that's basically positionless, right? I mean, if you're putting two centers on.
No, I think it would. I think it at least prevents against a scenario that's even more drastic than what we have this year, right? Where we could see years in the future where there's 4 centers and a guard. And that probably you wouldn't have if you're trying to make the best team possible.
I feel like I could
Plus,
make an argument for a lot of different construction. Like I could make an argument for a 5 guard lineup, maybe, or maybe like 4 guards and Tatum or something. I still think you could probably make
yeah,
almost anything.
right. So that's why I kind of feel like it's something for everybody where if you want to be traditional and put out a lineup that, follows the usual constraints of positions, then you can. If you're like, you know what, I'm going to play small, do my version of the death lineup and it'll be great. And again, it's not just the same as the MVP, where Sam, you seem to say, well, maybe in MVP, the record would matter more or missed games would matter less. But there's no rationale for why that would be the case. It's just up to what the voters decide is the distinction between the two, which to me just makes it more boring and makes it like, okay, well, top 5 MVP came out. I guess I know who's first team All NBA. And it's like, why do we even have that if it's just
that's gonna be the worst part for sure. I don't mind it in general, but that is gonna be interesting. I would like there should be something special about each award, right? So yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. I agree with that. I think Kyle, like you said, if they had it like All Star, where it's 3 front court and 2 guards, wouldn't that solve everyone's problem?
It seems like Sam's coming around.
To what?
Oh, you seem to be hardcore. It should be positionless before this conversation.
No, I'm not hardcore. It should be positionless. I just didn't mind it as much as you guys. I would say.
Okay.
I didn't mind the positionless at all at first. I was for it, and I was thinking about it just briefly, and I was like, the 2 front court or 2 back court, 3 front court could be a middle ground, but then again, I don't know how much that really changes anything because it's still all dependent at that point as to what a player is considered, right? And we'd still have this situation with, well, I guess Jaylen Brown, right? Does he count for both, or is he a guard?
Yeah, he's a forward and a guard, I believe.
Yeah,
but
I mean, players like LeBron, right? They're going to count towards a front court for sure, but at the same time, he probably is the ball handler more than 50% of the time he's on the court. That's a guard's duty essentially, right? In the old mind of the NBA. So that's why I'm not really sure what makes the most sense.
Yeah, with Seth's idea, that's interesting. You bring up with LeBron, like you can do a lot of different things with LeBron on your starting 5, right? You can play as your center or your point guard.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you guys both bring up good points. Like I don't really love it either way. Like I don't love the current version, and I don't love positionless, and both of those are interesting in between ideas. So if anyone wants to get on the horn with Adam Silver, let's get that done. May I list you my first team under the current constrictions?
Please.
It's just my top 5 NBA with MVP without Embiid because Embiid's a center. So it's Jokic at center, Giannis and Tatum at forward, Fox and SGA at guard. So SGA I said was my 6th. He is in here instead of Embiid due to position constraints. What do you guys have for your first team?
Go ahead.
So yeah, I'm open to being convinced about my second guard spot. So I think Shea, Giannis, Tatum, and Embiid for me are set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
I put Luca in there.
Ugh.
I also just said fuck Luca 20 seconds ago. So I'm fine to put somebody else in there. Um, you know, Steph would be ineligible under the new game requirement rules, which I like having it be 65 game minimum. So maybe I should be beholden to that for this year as well. I think I think Fox is a fine option. I think Mitchell could be considered. Um, but yeah, as much as it pains me to say it, I think Luka's the best of any of those players besides
Yeah.
Steph. But Luka played a lot more games than Steph, so
This guy just left me so cold. He doesn't get back on defense at all. He just doesn't play any defense, really. It's a
yeah.
terrible attitude. Disgusting team. I couldn't do it. Probably right, though. Kyle, who'd you have in that fifth spot? You had the same top four?
I did have the same four as Seth, and I too have been struggling with that fourth spot. I have debated Steph to fill it out. Lillard, I think, is my favorite to fill that spot out.
Mm.
And I think that's where I end up siding. I don't know how much like the games missed really should matter. I know
Well,
Steph has had more, than
yeah. Steph's
probably
at 54, Lillard's at
right.
58 right now.
Yeah.
But Lillard's
And
not
then
going to play
like,
anymore.
yeah, exactly. And Lillard is not by choice or by injury at all. He's just being forced to sit essentially. So
Well, I mean, if he said I
he
want to play,
had
he could have
probably the
played.
most spectacular season
Mm.
he's had his entire career at scoring wise. I feel like
Oh, yeah. And I'm having a lot of trouble with him. I don't even have him on any of my teams right now, but I feel like I should. I'm just having such a hard time with this season when they shut him down at the end. They're playing terrible. I don't know. I don't know what to do with him at all.
I had him
yeah,
third team. I had him third team just with like he only played 58 games. The team was bad. It's not like he's a defensive stalwart. But he's still Dame Lillard, one of the most exciting players to watch, and had an incredible offensive season. So I put him third team. But yeah, the guards are super interesting. It just really all comes down to how much do you penalize players for not playing? Um, which some argue it's less important for all NBA because all NBA is just like who are the best players and MVP is the value to your team. And so if you're
Mm-hmm.
not playing, that reduces the value to your team. But and nobody's mentioned Ja yet.
I have job, but he's not coming up yet. I just I don't have Dame or Steph on any of my teams. That I think I it just doesn't seem right. It
I
just
think
doesn't
you got
seem
to have
right.
Steph. I mean, he's
Steph has
played.
not played a lot of games. I don't have LeBron on here, and he's only played 2 games less than Steph. So can I look myself in the mirror and say that's a fine cutoff line? I just don't know.
I need to know, do you have KD? No,
No,
right? Certainly
KD's played
not.
even less games
I
though.
know he has.
Do you have Zion though?
Yeah, I mean, LeBron has played 52. Steph has played 54. KD has played like 48 or something like that. And Kawhi
46,
similarly has played, some high
49.
40s.
Yeah.
So I'm really struggling. I, I don't know. So who do you have in that fifth spot then, Kyle?
I'm gonna side with Lillard.
Okay. So for my second team, then I have Embiid. You're gonna have whoever Embiid or Jokic. I have Luca and Donovan Mitchell as in my second team guards. Donovan's just having a great season for a great Cavs team. I feel like he earned it. And then I have Jaylen Brown and Jimmy Butler as my forwards, which I think is kind of funny because sometimes they really remind me of each other. Butler's having a sneaky good season that I really didn't realize until I looked deeper into it. But does that seem reasonable to have those two in my forwards? I kind of struggle with my forward spots for the second team.
Those are the two that I had. Butler and
Yeah.
Brown.
I don't know who you can make an argument for over Butler.
Yeah,
To me,
exactly.
Unless you say unless you just throw games played out the window and say
Right.
Durant or LeBron. But I don't think that makes a lot of sense. So I think Butler for sure. And then, I mean, who are the other players you're even considering at that point? Like
Randall,
Randall,
Markkanen,
Siakam,
and
I guess.
Siakam. Yeah, those are the three basically. If you're taking LeBron and Kawhi out,
Yeah, and I mean you got to take Jaylen Brown over any of them.
it's not a great forward here.
Forwards kind of thin out quick considering just the usual suspects: LeBron, KD, Kawhi, Paul George. All of them haven't played enough games, and so it's like, all right, we get down to it pretty quick.
I have not. This is the first year I would not have LeBron on an All NBA team. It feels bad. It feels wrong.
And I bet he'll make third team, to be honest.
Especially if they end up finishing this in 6th.
Yeah.
And he probably, I mean, it's
Yeah,
LeBron James. I mean, he's
60.
he's also averaging 29, 8, and 7. Like,
Yeah. And he'll end up
Starting
with
in the 5th seed, yeah.
he'll end up with like 54, 55 games. So it's not like he played 30 games. You know what I mean?
maybe I'll just.
He would have ended up playing only like 30 games if he didn't go see the LeBron of foot doctors.
True.
Well, he just said the LeBron of feet. I don't know if he was even
Oh,
a
that's
doctor.
what I meant. Yeah,
It
that's
wasn't
true.
a doctor. It was actually
Okay, so-
messy.
So you guys have a pretty similar second team then. You have Embiid, Jokic, whoever you have, Brown, Butler, Luka, and Donnie. Is that the same for you guys?
I just have Steph in instead of Luka.
Because you had him first team.
Because I had Luka first team, yeah.
What
I
about
have
you, Kyle?
Luka and Steph.
Okay. I think I'll tell you what my third team is now, and I'll tell you where I'm leaning after our discussion because I just feel third team center has to be Sabonis, right? Our boy,
Yeah.
19, 12, and 7. If there was no Jokic, if Jokic hadn't been born, if we had gone back in time and murdered his grandfather, then we'd be talking about Sabonis as the best passing big man of all time, right? I mean, he's averaging 7 assists right now. You don't have to
Best
answer
of all
that.
time.
So either that or his father, I guess, right? And then I had Randall and Markkanen as my forwards, and I had Ja Morant and then Jalen Brunson as my guards. But after our talk, I think I would put Steph over Brunson and LeBron over Randall and just take out the Knicks once and for all. Because what am I even saying here? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I don't have the Knicks. I don't have the Knicks in third team. I have Fox and Dame. Which I'm leaving out Ja in that instance, but
you got to leave
feel
out
it's
someone.
wrong.
Then.
I feel it's wrong to leave out John.
And,
I feel so bad doing it.
Yeah, right. Everyone, for the most part, that we've mentioned on the list so far, them missing time was out of their control.
Right.
That is not the case for Ja. So
right.
I think he deserves somewhat of a demerit for that. I'm not saying it's unforgivable or he's a terrible person for forever. I'm just maybe he doesn't make all NBA this year. And then I think, Sabonis is a lock, and I have LeBron and Lowry.
Him missing all NBA docks him quite a bit in bonuses, doesn't it?
See, this is why we have too much power in our hands.
Which makes me think he's almost certainly gonna make it. 'Cause I don't think. Like, what do you do if you're a voter at that point?
Right.
If you're on the fence between a couple guys, I feel like if you know someone's gonna get a benefit from this, just give it to him.
That's what makes it so tough.
Yeah, I think if I was predicting who is going to actually win it instead of who I would take, I think the 6 guards will probably be Shea, Luka, Mitchell, Ja, Fox, and then either Dame or Steph.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's probably right.
I don't
LeBron,
think both Dame and Steph are gonna make it, and the voters
No,
are just
no.
gonna go with
no,
like
they're probably
they
just gonna
missed
go
too
with
many
Steph
games.
They're yeah.
over Dame, right? LeBron, do you think LeBron will make it in the actual voting?
I do.
Yeah.
I think this is the first year where you can like logically say you can leave him off and feel. I mean, you're not gonna feel great about him, but he can't make it forever, right? He can't make all NBAs until 2030.
He can
He's definitely still one of the best 15 players, though. So
easily.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to just have Brunson get a shout out for the season he had and make a third team, but it probably won't happen.
He could
All
win
right.
Most Improved Player.
Well, we're about to great segue, Kyle. Although that'll be the last award we go over because we'll go over it over my cold dead body. Let's breeze through the rest of these awards. So, Defensive Player of the Year odds on DraftKings right now. Kyle, had a quick ad read for DraftKings or what?
DraftKings stir and snack pudding. You can have DraftKings pudding just one cup at a time. If you can stir, you could snack.
Thank you, DraftKings. So we have Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Jr. at minus 145, Brooke Lopez at plus 110. Those are the only real contenders in Vegas's eyes. I think Jaren's a reasonable pick this year, despite the whole Reddit conspiracy against his blocks at home. That has since been debunked, and I think he deserves it.
I think he does. I'll just say it's infuriating how much he fouls, which is another thing that you would think would be within your control and could be something that, with a little bit of hard work and good coaching, you could really drastically reduce that. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So that's frustrating, but it's also like he's so much better than everyone else. Even with that, I feel like he's still better. So
he's averaging 4 stocks per game and 3.6 fouls. So he just narrowly edges out on his fouls with his
that's low
defensive
for what I'd
stack.
expect, honestly. I thought he'd be averaging like 4.5 fouls.
Yeah. Kyle, do you agree with that?
Yeah. I just
Nice.
don't want to give anything to the Bucks, really. So give me Jaren. He's more exciting too. Like I'd rather watch Jaren play than Brooke Lopez. Like Jaren comes out of nowhere for some of these blocks, dude. You think you're safe at the rim? He teleports and he's just there. It's insane.
He did reveal also on the live mismatch pod that he's left-handed despite not writing, shooting, or doing anything left-handed.
That was so good.
Yeah, Kyle, I agree with that. And it feels, I don't know like the stats word or anything, but it feels like Jaren switches better onto guards and does a little more of that than Brooke does, because they have Giannis over the Bucks, so he doesn't have to do it as much. Rookie of the Year is locked up in Vegas's eyes and in mine. Paolo Banchero's minus 5,000. Now, Jalen Williams over in the Thunder, plus 1,500. Do we sprinkle just in case? You're right, we don't.
Probably not, but
I love him though. He's had a great season. But Paolo, I mean, he's averaging 27 and 4, just a really solid. He walked in as a 20-point scorer. That's pretty rare to do. And I love watching him play already, and I'm pretty excited for the Magic future.
The Magic and the Thunder both, I think, have outrageous futures coming soon, too.
Well, I think just as early as next year, the Orlando is going to be right there in the bottom of that playoff race. So you think? Depends how the draft goes, of course. But
what do you mean, like competing for the 9 or 10 seed?
Could be even better.
Yeah, I think it's just any play-in spots are up for the taking, really.
I mean, looking at the standings this year, anything after 5, crapshoot for next year, I think. Sixth man of the year, Emmanuel Quickly, the favorite right now, minus 360. Your boy Seth, Malcolm Brogdon at plus 240. I don't have any strong feelings on this one. Feels like Quickly has had a more memorable season, but I don't know if that's just because he played better during national TV games or something. I'm not really sure, but he has certainly been electric this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been one of the biggest game changers in terms of the Knicks' entire team and their success. However,
I'm listening.
Austin Reeves He's
Mm.
80-1. Does he meet all the criteria to be selected as the sixth man of the year? Because
You just have to.
if the
I think he's
Lakers,
got to.
if the Lakers end up being the 5 seed in the West after the run that he's gone on over the last half of the season, especially with LeBron out, does he get some buzz? I feel like no one's talking about him, but in the eyes of the voters, why not?
Because all you have to do is start or is come off the bench more games than you started, which has to be true for him.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's an interesting sprinkle for us, Kyle.
I know.
I will mention that Malcolm Brogdon's nickname apparently is Humble Moses. So do with that what you will. I'm pretty sure Moses was pretty humble in real life. So not sure why that has to be added.
Yeah, Reeves has only started 19 of 61 games this year, so he'd definitely be eligible.
What about, are you going to vote for your boy, Seth?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel strongly about it either. So if there's a Celtic in the running, that's my boy. But I don't feel like there's like a runaway favorite this year.
Vegas doesn't either. Coach of the year, I couldn't find odds on it, but I mean, got to be Mike Brown, right, boys? Light the fucking beam.
Yeah, light the beam, baby.
Who else
I
could
mean,
it be?
it's got to be
He
someone
ended
whose
what
team,
17-year drought.
yeah, and it's got to be someone whose team really over exceeded expectations, right? And Kyle, you just sent me a bet from before the season that the Kings to win their division were what 200-1 or something? No, not that crazy. Was it that
No,
crazy?
before the season, I think it was like 150. That was like an
Yeah.
in-season bet that was early on. But
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like that's all you need to know right there because they won their division.
crazy.
Mike Brown, baby. All right, let's end the podcast with the most despicable, outrageous award ever created. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah,
Most
like
improved, most improved player. I guess it's Larry Markkinen. He's minus 300 right now. Whatever. I think he's a reasonable candidate, honestly, because I know he does have like a bigger load than before, but he has really added a lot to his game. So I'm fine with it, I'll say.
I think he's deserving as well.
That's fine.
You know, there's somewhat of an argument for Shea if you want to go with the precedent when Ja won it last year.
But they
Where
would
it's
never
like-
go with the president.
Yeah, you know, he went from like star player to superstar, which is harder of a lead. It's all dumb.
I'd rather that instead of most improved player trophy, they just give out like one of those participation trophies they give you for like youth soccer.
Sure.
That'd be better than that. All right. Well, that's been our end of season. The next time we check in with y'all, it's going to be playoff time, baby. And I am pumped. This is going to be very fun playoffs all the way from the first round to the finals, baby. Strap in and strap on.
Pause.